Hello everybody. Something a little bit different because my newest reading endeavor, which is to read my way through all of the classic Nancy Drews before the year is out, considering there's 64 of them and I read them in about 3 hours each, I think that's something I can easily accomplish. I wanted to revisit them because they are the reason I am a reader, 100% the reason I am a reader. When I was a kid, we used to get them from what was Price Club then and is now Costco in a 3-pack. They were this style, the hardbound, yellow covers. I had the whole collection. My mom used to carry an index card around with her in her wallet that had the list of all of them. I think she probably just had the numbers written down, if I had to take a guess, not the full titles, but she had all the numbers and she would cross them out when we got them because the 3-packs were a little bit random. It wasn't like they put 1, 2, 3 together and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, etc. They would do like 1, 5, and 26, or 10, 13, and 72. There is no 72, but sometimes they would replicate within the 3-packs, so like 2 different 3-packs could have the number 3 in them, which she didn't want to do because that's a waste of a book for me. So yeah, she had to ration me on them a bit because I devoured them even as a child. I know for a fact I could get through one on a cross-country flight, direct flight, so like 5.5 hours. I do know because I flew every summer from my home in Central Virginia to my grandmother's house on an island off the coast of Seattle. So I had experience traveling with books from a young age. But yeah, I've wanted to do this, and they don't really lend themselves well to book styles because, one, there's a lot of yellow on the covers, and I hate yellow. It's honestly my least favorite color. Well, off-white might be my least favorite color, but yellow is a close second. And yellow outfits can be a little bit much back-to-back, and there's 60-some books. How many variations of a Nancy Drew-ish outfit am I going to come up with, and how many variations of a keyword of mystery or sleuth or teen or Titian-haired am I going to find? So I'm going to do these little videos, talk about each book a little bit, probably just more like my thoughts as we go through the books, because, you know, they were written in the 30s. This particular one that I started on has a copyright of 1930. And I should say, I would love to have started at the beginning, like gone 1 through in order, because my very fastidious brain prefers stuff to be in order, and I can cross lists off as I go, and it's all neat and easy. And but yeah, it's not going to happen because of what the library has available. I used to own all of these, and I swear I didn't get rid of them when I moved out of my mother's house ultimately, but I have no idea where all the copies have gone to. So library copies it is. I hope they're really amused by the giant hold request I just put on. But so the first book that I am reading is number 3. There we go. It is The Bungalow Mystery by Carolyn Keene. And by Carolyn Keene, I mean a series of ghostwriters. I don't know who the individual ghostwriter for number 3 was, but it was a ghostwriter, I am sure. So I did not like this one a lot, even when I was a kid. I'm slightly upset that the name is The Bungalow Mystery, when the bungalow in the story, it is where the story kind of starts and where it kind of ends. But not a lot of the action takes place at the bungalow. There's action that takes place at another house. There's action that takes place at a shack. But the bungalow, not so much. And to add like insult to injury as far as I'm concerned, this illustration on the cover, below the word bungalow, is actually showing the shack in question. It has to be, because the only thing that's dilapidated in the story is the shack, and the way Nancy's like skulking behind a tree making sure the coast is clear. This has to be the shack in the story, but yet they called it The Bungalow Mystery. I'm not real sure what else they would have called it, because it has to be relevant, right? Maybe I don't even know. This is why I'm not a ghostwriter for Nancy Drew. Let's be real honest. So, like, artisan teen heroine Nancy Drew. This is where her story starts. She's on a lake, and very, very rapidly a storm rushes in. It's not a bad story. It's not my favorite. It has some suspense in it, but it doesn't have the horror aspect, that bit of creep that a lot of Nancy Drew stories have, and those were always my favorite ones. I liked the dark ones that had a little bit of the supernatural tossed in. It was always some guy, you know, in a hidden staircase at the end. There wasn't ever really truly a supernatural aspect, but I like the chills and the suspense of reading it. It's what really sucked me into the mystery genre from the start, was that, you know, they're page turners. You want to know what happens next. You can't turn the lights off and go to bed. You need to read the rest of this chapter, just one more chapter, because you need to know what happens. Like, so, yeah, this isn't my favorite because it feels spread a little too thin. There's a little too many balls in the air on this one. And I think even for a younger reader, it's really easy to figure out how, like, the multiple storylines are all going to coincide way before they actually coincide within the writing. The other thing I was surprised about, I was prepared for the first book, maybe the second book, to not feature a lot of the secondary characters that you're accustomed to in the Nancy Drew universe, but I thought by the third book that they would be there, or at least one of them. I feel like Bess is the first that's introduced. I feel like she's the most consistent because she really is Nancy's best friend. But her cousin George, those two girls are normally always with Nancy when you think of Nancy Drew, Bess and George. Also, Nancy's sweetheart Ned does not feature in this one. And so clearly neither of his guy friends who kind of pair with George and Bess, because we must have symmetry. They're not in this one yet either. So the only secondary characters you have that are repetitive are Carson Drew, Nancy's dad, who is a lawyer, who is fairly successful, trusts his daughter with a lot of stuff. He's actually the reason she's become a detective and a sleuth, is because he's used her on cases for research. In this one in particular, he has her working on a theft case for a bank, and she's going around to complete strangers' houses and trying to find out more about them, just to see if she thinks they might be possibly a suspect. And then you also have, because Nancy is motherless, Carson Drew is a widower. Nancy lost her mother at the age of 3, which is something she always uses in a very, very passive way when you're rereading these as an adult. To connect with people sometimes. Oh, I lost my mother too. You know, but losing your mother at 3 is a little less raw than losing your mother, you know, a couple months ago, like the poor girl in this story that she befriends. But anyways, so you, because of that, they also have a full-time live-in housekeeper, Hannah Grun. She's often described as motherly, and that is kind of the role she fills in Nancy's life. But I think for propriety's sake, because she did live with a single man and his daughter full-time, they always skew her a little bit older, kind of grandmotherly type. And I mean, clearly based off this illustration. So this is Nancy. This is the poor girl who's, you know, recently orphaned. And then this is Hannah. So like they've definitely made her look older. So I think they skew that. The only other secondary character that is referenced in this one is Chief McGinnis. Nancy doesn't have a lot of direct interaction with him, but he is introduced as one of Carson's good friends, and he does help tie up the case towards the end. Yeah, it was a really interesting read because this one doesn't follow a lot of the formula. The story's not laid out exactly the same, and as I mentioned, you don't really have her friends there either propelling it forward. But yeah, I'm having fun dipping my toes back into it. Hopefully you guys enjoy following me on my random thoughts as I read through these. I'll probably pop a book style in here and there when I find interesting covers. I did pop a link down below to a book style I did for Chelsea Cain's Confessions of a Teen Sleuth, which if you are a Nancy Drew fan like I am, Die Hard, there's a club. We need badges or jackets or something. But yeah, Die Hard Nancy Drew fan. Chelsea's Confessions of a Teen Sleuth is a fantastic satirical parody of the books, and written from a place of love, because she's a huge Nancy Drew fan too. So I did do one of those in the past. I recommend the book to anyone if you can find it at your library or used online. I do not think it is currently in print, but it should be. Hear that? It should be. So yeah, let me know what you think. Were any of you guys Nancy Drew fans growing up? Have you ever reread them as adults? I do pick them up from time to time when I see them lying about someplace. So I've never really stopped reading them, but I'm excited to, really dig in and reacquaint myself with the mysteries that I remember but have all amalgamated in my brain. All right, guys. Cheers.